Are there possibilities of layoffs? Are there possibilities of class sizes getting larger?
So that's a possibility down the road. I don't think we're there yet.
What is it going to take to, other than a state budget, let's say they still don't do it.
Right.
You have to make some hard decisions in January.
The big, well, let me go directly at you.
Okay.
The big savings would be staff and salaries. It is. I mean, there's no way around it. And, I don't operate unilaterally. So that would have to be a discussion with our administrators, our Board of Education, working closely with the Board of Finance. These are the implications, those kinds of things. I'm not trying to dodge the question because that's a real worst case scenario. And if we get there, to answer your question, the big ticket item are positions, and we would look all over. We wouldn't, when we put together the budget last year, we really tried to protect the classrooms as much as possible. I know there were some cuts to pre-K. I get it. I understand that. And we did absorb that teacher in another area due to retirement. But there were other cuts. We had 7 IAs. We had secretarial cuts. We moved offices. If you come to central office now, our SPED office is at central office. That used to be in the high school wing. So we have done a lot of bending and changing. We moved the TVCCA office that was in the high school wing to the elementary school. We've done quite a bit in terms of trying to get to that budget number last year. But yes, unequivocally, the big ticket item would be salaries.
Yeah. And that's the thing you're trying to avoid the most, I'm assuming. So.
We're trying to avoid the most because the bottom line is in one way or another it impacts kids. We know that classroom sizes well into the 20s, they don't help. We know that when you take away supports for kids, it doesn't help. We know that unequivocally kids need certain things. They need teachers, they need qualified staff, and as many people said, you do that in midstream, it's almost it's catastrophic. Yep. So we're not there yet. I don't want everyone to freak out. But like you said,
and we might not even get there.
We might not get there. But if we were to get there in January, and
I'm only asking the what if question, and I know that that kind of goes against the grain of what we talked about,
right?
But we're in a different place today,
right?
Than a month and a half or 2 months ago,
right?
One of the questions that has been brought up to me that I, asking, that maybe I should ask either you or DiPietro in Plainfield. Yeah. But since you're here, I'm going to ask you programs as far as after-school extracurriculars, sports. What is the possibility of going to a pay-to-play kind of model?
Well, Mike, that's been a conversation we've had. We know we just ran sports statistics for the fall sports participation. We're up. We have a lot of particularly at the high school I'm talking about, our tuition towns. I think there's 15 students on the football team alone that are from tuition towns. So this has many implications for Griswold. The other thing, you and I talked before the show, wealth status in the state of Connecticut. Griswold is 149 out of 169
towns in Connecticut.
Meaning that's where we are with wealth. We're not talking about a Stonington or an East Lyme or a Madison where there is more capacity for students to do pay to play because of parental income and that kind of stuff. So that's a real big ticket item. Now, if we get into a situation where it's severe, do we have to look at maybe working with Steve Gravino, our athletic director, and say, there's 10 games scheduled, we might have to go down to fewer, possibly.
You mean on the football side,
or any sport for that matter?
But football's revenue generating, so I would think that maybe football would be something that you guys wouldn't touch.
Correct, and the other thing is this would have to involve a full-fledged discussion with the Board of Education. Right. I mean, there's it's people think it's easy to do, it's not, and then you'd have to do you do pay to play or do you do a sliding scale? and how do you discriminate which sports to do and which not? And right now, the statistics, at least for the fall, are showing we have more participation. I think there's something like 20-something more students overall.
In the fall?
In the fall.
As opposed to the spring?
Year. No, as opposed to the statistics from last year.
Oh, this year over last year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's significant for a district of this size.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're talking about 2 more students, I wouldn't be saying we have an increase.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then when you have tuition kids coming saying, hey, I know I can play in Griswold, and then you say to the tuition town, well, by the way, now you have to pay, they might take their business elsewhere.
Gotcha.
And so I mentioned to you, we projected $1.6 million in tuition. As of October 1st, we're saying 1.7. I don't think you want to tell a customer, hey, by the way, now you have to pay for the sports and have them truck down to NFA or up to Woodstock.
Yeah. Because you have there are sports that are gaining in popularity.
Correct.
I would think like soccer.
Correct. And I think the track programs are gaining in popularity.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. I mean, and that has a lot to do with the youth programs, I think, in town, too, because, the kids are, even the soccer programs, they have U8 teams.
Right.
Right. And I mean, we sponsor a U12 team.
Right.
Here at the station. And you have that when you're starting the kids, at that age, they're going to love that game. I remember when I was a kid in town here, everything was about baseball.
Right.
It was all about Little League, farm system, Little League, Senior League, and then hopefully you get on your high school team.
And I think we'd have, I don't know, I'm just going to go there. I think we would have a real hard time having conversations with parents, Griswold parents, and when they go and they support the schools and support the budget and say, hey, by the way, we're now going to make you, even on a sliding scale, we're going to make you pay for sports participation. And we know the data is unequivocal when kids participate in sports or other activities, they're more inclined to do better in school.
One of the reasons I brought up soccer was because it is gaining popularity, and my daughter plays. She's been playing since she was 5 years old, and it's just that soccer is also not revenue generating.
Right.
There's no money coming in for that. There's no admission. So I would think, is that something that's easier to say, this is something we need to cut? If it got down to that.